Howdy doody! It's Wayno with the Old People's Complaint Desk saying hello once again. And today's question is a simple one. Why do people like me, old white people, old Septuagenarians, 70 plus, why do we vote against our own interests? Right? Why? Why do we vote against our interests? And why I'm saying that is because it's obvious we've been voting against our own interests for quite some time now, because look at the way things are. Things are not the very best for a Septuagenarian. So we're 70 plus, so we've been around for the better part, most of a century. We understand economics because we understand what we've worked all our lives for, what little we have, what it's like to feed a family and feed ourselves and all that stuff while you make a career. We understand that firsthand. We understand a bit about local politics because we vote for a mayor at the very least, and we get to see what the mayor does to our town or village or city and we're impacted by it, usually at a first level. We have people in the federal government or the state legislative government and the federal government. Oh my God. And we see the states that they are in, and I don't understand. When I see what we have in the state legislatures and I see what we have in the federal House and Senate, and then what they're all saying they want to do, I don't understand how we got to this point, because it's a no-brainer. It's not in our interests. They're not really doing things in our interests. But we're the ones that pretty much put them there. Because a lot of them we put there when we were younger, when we were 50, 40, 60, and geez, they're still in office, okay? Which is fine. They know what to do at least. They know how to play the game. They know how to work. But are they working for our interests? So we understand a bit about politics. We understand a bit about economics. We understand a little bit about culture, because by now we've been around for an awful long time. We've seen people from all different walks of life and all different colors, all different cultures, all different, facial characteristics and everything. And well, obviously we're still here and we're in one piece. So all of that really didn't hurt, that, everything was so mixed up. But whether we like it or not, we have to sit there and say, hey, that's it. This is where we are. This is the way it is, and it's going to be. Did you go to the World's Fair in New York City in 1966, was it? I did. And you walk in, and there is a sign, a reader board sign of how many people in the United States, U.S. population and world population. U.S. population at the time just went from 190 some odd million to 200 million right around the time that I went, because I went a couple of times. And it made that milestone in 66. And worldwide, there were 3 billion people. So what is it now? 300 and some odd million in the United States and 6 billion? Or is it 5 billion? Or is it 7 billion? 5 to 7 billion people in the world. So what's going on? In 66, it's doubled. Everything is doubled. So you're just not going to be able to keep to your own little neighborhood, because the rest of the world is coming into your neighborhood. You don't have a choice. We don't have a choice, right? So by now, we've either gotten agita, which means we don't like the idea, we get frustrated, and we get sick because of it, or we get used to it. We get peace, tranquility, serenity, and all of that comes at a price. We have to compromise. Realistically compromise using our noggin. So we've seen all of that, but we still vote the way we do. Now, I'm talking about a World's Fair in 1966. If you're a Septuagenarian, you were born sometime in late 40s, early 50s. That's right after World War II to the 50s. And what was the state of the country then? Well, in the 30s, they enacted the New Deal and everything, and the prosperity of the war came, and the GI Bill for most people, and poof, they all went to college, and our knowledge as a country went up after the war. We also found out that we were a world superpower, and that people actually did want some democracy and that we were a protector of the world to a certain degree. So we were we graduated. World leader, clearly. What happened at home? Because that's where it counts. What happened at home is there were things enacted that helped us. Yes, we had prosperity. In Eisenhower, we had the interstate system put in as well as a whole bunch of other infrastructure so that we can move commerce and people across the country. We put in railroads, all that stuff. We built, we invested in ourselves. We built a infrastructure that still stands today and that heralded in our prosperity. And then our parents were working. They had retirements. When they got to a certain age, they were able to retire without being penniless. They didn't have to work to the 70s. It looks like we got to start working in our 70s once again these days, even though we got retirements and everything, right? So we got all of that stuff. We got Medicare, a guaranteed health care after a certain age. We got Social Security. We got Civil Rights Acts. Now, as far as the Social Security and the Medicare, we got it, but do we get it for free? No. We had to pay into that system. I paid my whole life. There was 2 years of my life that I made enough money that I did not have to pay into the Social Security. Just 2 years out of working from 15 to 66. I had a couple good years. So it's not a giveaway. It's what we put in there, and to keep it there is in our interest. Medicare or Medicaid, for those who are somewhat destitute, came in the 60s, and it got a lot of us to a point to where we finally got some health care, steady health care in our old age. So that's what we were born into, some of those things. We were also born into a lot of parents who were working. They were moving into the suburbs. They were affluent. They got some money. You know, we got infrastructure. We got money. There was a tax rate on millionaires of 50 some odd percent. In other words, if they made $1 million, they had to give half of it back in taxes. Too bad. But you know what? I don't know anybody in my family that made more than $1 million a year. And now what do we got, right? Now we don't have that. We got just the opposite. We've been having just the opposite for the last 40 years, all right? So as far as just that one aspect of why do we vote against our interests, I just want to leave it there and just remind everybody that we grew up after the war, World War II, after the New Deal, and we flourished. The middle class, which is you, me, my mom, my dad, everybody else, we flourished. In other words, we got something for what we were working for, and we had a country that was helping us along the way. Nobody was giving us a handout. We were born into that. We were born into Social Security, which is some guaranteed income. We were born into Medicare, which is some guaranteed health care. That and affluence to some degree, and a strong middle class to where, hey, you got some money, you go on down to the pizza parlor owned by the Giuseppe and his family who lives down the street, and you bought 2 pizzas for $5 each, maybe, and that went right back. That money went right back into the neighborhood. How could we go from there, from that, to where we are now? How could we go from where we were when we were growing up and the world our parents had to where we are now, to when we're grandparents looking at a future for our kids and grandkids and saying, oh my God, what the heck are they going to do? How do we go from there to here? If we were voting in our interests, if we were voting in our interests, how did we get here? So we're here, so we must not have been voting in our interests all those years. In your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, in your 70s. You weren't voting your interests. Why? And now where are we? How did we get here and why? Why, if we're so strong, there's so many of us, and we're the end of the baby boom, tail end of the baby boom where there's millions of us, how the heck did we get here? Good question. Well, if you hit subscribe and notify, you'll come out with the next video, the next topic on this one, and maybe we'll explore why and explore what we can do about it. In the meantime, please subscribe. Please notify so you can get the next one, and I don't leave you halfway in a half thought. Oh yeah, and if you want to send it to somebody, share it, please do. I have a website too. It's called I'mOldYou'reOld.com. That's spelled IamUrold, IamOldYou'reOld.com. You'll find some of these videos, you'll find some transcripts and a little bit of information in an email. If you want to contact me, you can complain by sending email to complain@I'mOldYou'reOld.com. All right, until then, until I see you again on the next version of Old People's Complaint Desk, we'll leave it at there. And where are we leaving it? We're leaving it at, how did we get here if we're voting our interests? I don't know. We couldn't possibly be here if we were voting our interests, so we must not be voting for our own interests. Then whose interests are we voting for? Okay, I'll see you later. We're going to leave it at that. Hi, this is Waynio with a disclaimer. The information that I'm providing is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, and treatment, nor as a substitute for professional mental health care or a substitute for accounting and tax preparation. These stories are my experiences. Go and have your experiences, and may they be guided by competent professional help. And I give public notice that all names are fictitious composites and representing no one person, alive or otherwise. My intent here, as in all cases, is not to malign anyone or anything. Thank you.